Good morning. All right. So finally getting a little downside corrective action that we've been anticipating that would come. It's been sideways choppy for a little while. And so yesterday, interest rates went higher after that jiggle from Monday. Things reversed, and it looked like we were going to be off to the races again, possibly to new all-time highs. And maybe it was a fake out. Maybe it was just, some craziness that goes on in the markets, but it was another little correction bar that appeared, and I said that it was going to continue to go higher. So these are these correction bars that we talk about, where it breaks a prior bar's low and turns into a bottoming tail bar. And so we look at different pieces of information to guide us along the way. And internals are a big thing, but they don't tell us what's going to happen in the moment. They just tell us that things are likely to shift from down to up and up to down or sideways, some corrective price action. So look at this correction bar. And so depending on what we're looking at, they look different, of course. Futures 24 hours, give or take. And so this started from the bottom there, and you get this big correction bar. And what they show us is by the dip and resistance, sideways price action, and so forth. So now correction bar doesn't go very far. Correction bar goes nowhere. So internals gave us a heads up, like back here, I think back here, somewhere in this day. Anyway, so now we're getting that rounding top rollover type of a pattern, and it's likely that's going to continue until prices reach some support area. Wherever, we know where the support areas are. Whether they stop there or not, that's a whole nother story. We then watch to see, do we get correction bars? Do we get shakeout patterns? We don't know what's going to form as prices reach resistance, but as they do reach resistance, they reach a point where it makes sense that buyers are going to show up. It's based on price. It's not based on Fibonacci's and trend lines and all that kind of stuff. And so this would be the most obvious place, which it's not going to get down there today, of course. I don't believe so. Just too far, too fast. You see where there are, and maybe it'll just be an inside day. Since yesterday was a wide range down bar, it's usually followed by some type of a consolidation day. And you see the news that came out, jobless claims, the big bounce off of the low there. So I don't think that number was anything of great significance, but prices were extended in the short term, pre-market. And if we scroll that back, we see how far things went, yesterday, and then overnight, sideways, the attempt to go higher. So I'll just point this out here. While this is not what we would coin as a correction bar, and we had part of this discussion in the green room yesterday, I think it was. This kind of price action, let's get another one. This kind of price action, while they're not topping tail bars. We had discussions on a stock as far as retracements go. So as we change time frames, if I was to change this time frame, we can see it right here to a 15-minute, they look like bearish correction bars because they're topping tail bars. But when we talk about our different MTS concepts, one of them is retracements and understanding them so that when we change time frames, the pictures change, the charts. So these were deep retracements on a 5-minute, but we're topping tails and breakout failures on the 15 correction bars, which suggest to us it's going to go lower. And what it tells us in the moment is that whoever it is, traders, individuals, institutions, are selling even minor rallies. And so now things get extended to the downside. They break this low, a little bounce, coming up to minor resistance, and we'll see what happens. Right. So big little time frame, big rally in a little time frame up into resistance, a lot of nothingness, on the higher time frame, meaning it didn't change yesterday whatsoever. So just wiggles at this point. And As you can see, a little selling at resistance. We'll see where it goes. All right. So we look at other markets. I'll take a look at Tim. So Dan. Tim's going to want to look at MSTR when you get on. So what's Bitcoin doing? Look, Bitcoin had some gyrations yesterday. You can see my thing here. It's up 2,600 points. So it had a big topping tail intraday yesterday, but we'll take a look at that. Qs, rally, big rally off the number. All right. We'll see how deep it can get or not into yesterday's red bar. There's the correction bar that didn't follow through. There's the correction bar that did follow through. Rounding type of a pattern there. You can see there's the power move up, creates the void, rounding. Looks like should go lower. That's what it tells us. Dow, big down day yesterday. Bond auction, bonds went up, markets went down. We talked about watching the bond market, right, earlier in the week. So there was a 20-year auction today. I think I heard on the news. I didn't look at the economic report yet this morning. I think there's he said a 10-year auction today. Unlikely it's going to have the same kind of an effect. So midday today, well, there's a 4-week and an 8-week auction at 12 o'clock. I guess new mortgage rates, 15 and 30. And then at 1 o'clock, there's a 10-year auction. And then you got you got a Fed guy talking at 2. So the afternoon should probably have some jiggles. So correction, coming down into the gap fill, moving averages, little sell setup on the weekly time frame on the Dow there, and the Russell. Right, pullback, right? So deeper pullback, already filling the gap. Sell setup on the weekly. Right? Downtrend, weekly. Sideways, big rally sideways into resistance on the daily. Rolling over, right? So not in a downtrend yet. We'll see how this progresses. Sell setup on the 5-minute. Right? Didn't rally as much. But after big down days like this, it happens, right? Sometimes, I mean, I've seen, probably everyone, most of you have seen like here, you can get 3 big down days in a row, right? That's usually like, okay, it's the capitulation type of scenario. From the top, you rarely get 3 big down days in a row. See where it goes so far. It is bounced off quite nicely. All right, gold, of course, market up. Gold going to be down a little bit. And so that marking time, big trading range. Silver, maybe we're going to get that breakout, right? We're looking for it here. It didn't happen. Bottoming tail bar, back up to the top of the range. It's wiggling around here. Be tomorrow, maybe next week. Long silver. And that would probably mean the correction is continuing lower. Now, oil, right? It was up at the top of the range. Of course, there's going to be sellers. So we got a trading range here, wide whippy kind of a trading range. We know that there was this breakdown on the weekly, broke down, a significant breakdown. So does that mean recession? And so the markets, commentators, whatever, flip-flopping between, recession's coming. Oh, no, not going to be any recession. It's just one of those environments where opinions change week to week. Anyway, this is in a downtrend. Cheaper oil is a good thing. It also suggests potentially a weakening economy, less demand. But anyway, just a trading range here. A lot of messes going on. And well, we haven't looked at the dollar lately, but it's been in a downtrend here for a while and maybe beginning to stabilize. We shall see. Interest rates, 10-year, and up toward a resistance area. So concerns of higher interest rates. Yeah, we get it. Remember, the market didn't give a shit, excuse my language, but it was kind of that way because I remember saying at the time, it was like, what is up here? Like the market could care less that these interest rates are going up. And it's not a good thing that they're moving up that way, but the market wants to ignore it now. Internals being where they were, you can't fight it. You just recognize what is and see what's going to happen. So as it comes up toward, that pivot high, it pokes a bit above. This is trending up. It appears that it's going to continue higher toward the top of the range there. And should it do that, the markets, right, we believe is based on what's going on, the market will continue to correct, equities, and they will come down. And when interest rates come up into this area, and maybe we see the volatility index at a high, and we'll see our market internals, which now they're beginning to move down toward potentially bullish levels, right? Far from there yet. And those things begin to line up. We start looking for high probability longs again. Right? It's what we call the factory work. Right? 30-year, right? Borrowing costs going up, not good. You can see, coming up toward that prior high up there. And the backing off here pre-market this morning, and equities pop up a little bit there. Bitcoin, right? Yesterday, this was a big topping tail, looked like a breakout failure. And then it began recovering. Now it's continuing higher, new all-time highs. And so Tim asked about MSTR, this and others that are moved with Bitcoin. See, it's gapping up. Kind of sloppy up there, Tim, but yeah, it could be the start of a move higher, because it typically follows. Absolutely. What we like yesterday in MT Live, I'll put the link in the chat, but we talked about a checklist. And one of them, part of the checklist is the pattern loose or is it tight? This is tight. There's no pivots. That's like, this is going up. It's going to go up. There's no ambiguity about it. It's complete certainty about the direction. And here it gets kind of whippy. It's like, I'm not so sure, but what's the trend? The trend is still up. Where's support? Part of the thought process. So we look at the weekly chart, higher time frame. It's at resistance. It's chopping around there. Can we get a green bar today, which could be a continuation pattern suggesting higher? So while it's gapping up here today, can it hold on to that gap? Right? Does it close green? What does it do? This is kind of loose. Maybe it's on its way to new all-time highs. All right. So we look at other things, see what they're doing. Everything's correcting, but think semiconductors, which held up extremely well, right? Then they gave it up. So things are getting sloppy, and so on. All right. Another minute. Hand it over to Dan. Alerts. Set your alerts. Unfilled gap down below. Where was it? It was at yesterday's low. My cursor there moving around there. The bottom of the trading range, right? So it was at the bottom of the trading range. So far, it's holding up. There's a wide range bar down from the top of the trading range. Prices are at the bottom of the wide range bar area. It's not lifting up very much, suggests if it's going to go down to the next level or the unfilled gap. Broke down below the pivots, right? So Q's tech is holding up better than the spiders. Now, what typically happens is that continues for a while, meaning this will continue to correct lower, and eventually the strong give it up, and that will be another indication of a low, which we're not near yet. Right? So bottom of the big down bar, jiggling around. We'll see how long it jiggles. Sell set up over there, and so on. Converging 20, 200, unfilled gap, obvious downside target, which will not be reached today. I don't believe so. But again, we'll see where things end. All right, so where are things at? Right. Before they were below yesterday's low, right? In the middle of that bottoming tail bar or that gap up day. Now they're up here. And so SPX is going to be jiggling around basically, let's say, unchanged on the day, give or take. You see NQs are now up on the day. S&Ps down a little bit, almost unchanged. Dow down, and so on. All right. So now we go to SPX. And earlier, when they were down there, this number was down below 57. I think it was 50, 56, 70, something like that earlier this morning. And this was up here. And so it's tightened up, and it's probably tightened up more. But as things roll over, these numbers will change, of course. So these numbers can change dramatically, real fast. So this isn't moving. That from what I looked at as it was starting to go up a little while ago, and I adjusted that up. This hasn't moved. So kind of okay, you got the jiggles, right? It was at a further extreme down here. Now it's at the rising 20, unfilled gap, below the 200. It isn't going down there today. It may not even be able to get below 5,800. But if it does take a dip early on, some credit spread below 5,800 should be safe. Right? Safe, what does that mean? Right? Remember trading day, right? You want to go home? Want to go home? Not tell your wife you lost all that money? Right? 59.20 hasn't moved with the last jiggles. So it's not going up there either today, right? Unless some that bond market kind of situation has some kind of big move. But anyway, by 2 o'clock, you're either usually out of the trade or waiting for something else. All yours again.
Good morning. Well, yesterday was our turn day. We can start looking for credit spreads. And shorts. The problem is with the low VIX, it's really hard finding good credit. It was for tomorrow, that is. We'd have to go out the next week, but it should be okay going out the next week with the turn, provided same old rule. We don't go more than 50% into yesterday's range. Looking at the pattern, right there, we were talking about, the weight of the evidence, this thing's going lower, and it did. So as long as we don't go above 586, then I'm fine for taking swing shorts and when they set up and credit spreads. So I posted spider credit spread for next week. There's no juice for today. Microsoft, I posted under Tuesday's low, trying to do one for tomorrow. We'll have to see what the premium is when it hits. And then I would not do one for next week on this pattern. That's a bullish rising wedge, not unless it had a closing breakdown under all this. LUV, I was looking at a couple airlines. That looks like a call spread idea. Extended daily, weekly, rolling over. Alarms, Hotel Papa. We've been in this short all week. And look at these controlled bars. This has been very easy to manage. So I sent out a telegram just to cover a third here pre-market. Our first target was 1510, so that's exceeding it. We'll take it. TRS alarm. Ah, there you go. There you go. Look at this gapping up. That was a 1, 2, 3 that we found on Tuesday. And now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it's gapping up, showing relative strength. Well, that looks great. Ideally, we get a nice little pullback here, 2590 to 26 area. That looks good. That in the window also. Our ARC B going up with Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin all-time highs here. The same with our ARC B. We've been long this since this gap breakout. And just a management mode. We sat now. I personally would never sit through this as a swing trader. But it's in our ETF letter. And we give them wider stops. We let them breathe like this because we were trading, the weekly and monthly also. So we got in here, buy setup on the monthly. Coin alarm. Over yesterday's I like it. Rocket Lab. We actually stopped out at a profit yesterday. Sierra Golf, we're still short. That's another one that's been really easy to manage. All right, Tim asked me about MicroStrategy. It's just, I mean, it's in an uptrend, it's consolidating, it's possibly a bull rectangle. It's just not my wheelhouse. It's up too much. And it's, Greg said, it's getting sloppy, up a lot on the weekly with a bearish, red bar. Just not my wheelhouse. I mean, that's what we do. Your trading plan has to say the patterns you like, the conditions, going through the concepts, and just let's just rate the quality from 1 to 10. AMX didn't have a good void because you said should I buy over the high? Well, if you buy over the high, look to the left. You're in a range here. I don't know if this is going to break out or turn into some type of retest and failure. Roll AMX. That one's better. I always say the A/B test, even if they're in totally different sectors. This one to me is superior. Why? Well, broke out, got slammed back in, but it still held. Closing breakout, inside bar, bullish weekly, bullish monthly, above the 20. I have a defined entry. I have a defined stop, which would be Monday's low. So this one's better. It's up a lot. Look how far the 20 is from the 50. But that looks good. Oh, I mentioned Microsoft Tesla here. I've been watching for a call spread. And I said yesterday, we'll do it today under yesterday's low. Gapping down a little bit. So let's check the premium at the open. And also this thing I've been watching for a couple of weeks. And it's gapping up again. But this, I'm waiting for my reversal. And then I'm going to be shorting naked calls on this. But it's up $5 and it's looks like the reversal's not happening yet. And I said, I sent a telegram that at a bare minimum, I want this to make a lower high on the 15-minute chart, and then I'll consider selling them for tomorrow. All right, those were alarms. Let's go to earnings now. Mr. Snowden, gapping up. I was thinking about selling the 210s. I didn't do any earnings trades yesterday, but and it's bullish, but no pattern. Zoom. This one I was considering shorting calls, but there was no premium. And now no pattern. Urban, $71. That's a massive gap. Now it's a bullish gap, but it fits into my definition, particularly because today's Thursday, fits into my definition of possible short-term excessive gap. So see what it does in the first 30 minutes. LX gapping up a little bit, but nothing exciting there. It's range bound. AMSC 25.85. That could be a 30-minute high trade. Let's see. Broke out two inside bars. I don't see any prints. I don't know what to do. Ramp 32, it's bullish, but need a pullback. That's that's what 15% gap up. That's huge. Domo up a little bit, maybe 30-minute high. We'll come back to it. ENS gapping down. Wow, that's an ugly gap. Gapping around support. Let's see what that does at the open. TD gapping up a little bit. That's bullish. It's up a lot, but price action says it's going higher on all time frames. Look at that thing. ADI, yeah, it was up. Now it's selling off 220. So there you go, call spread. 10-minute low. Let's do a 1DT call spread if there's juice. WSM 158. There's no pattern. ATAT flat, no pattern. Look, we also talked yesterday about the tightness of the patterns. And look, this is one that I says gives me a headache. I mean, it cleaned up here for sure. It's cleaner, but everything prior, these overlapping bars, it gives me a headache. Bravo Zulu 1670. I doubt there's going to be any juice, but call spread. Bravo Julia, no pattern. AAP is having a monster gap here. Now, I said this yesterday. I said this pattern totally suggests doing a call spread. But then I also said the problem with this pattern is if it gaps up, over this resistance, it is a big old void. But man, that's a monster gap for this stock. But nothing to do with it. Well, actually, check his cousins. Poorly. Actually doing nothing. AutoZone. AutoZone is a cousin. Look at that thing is at all-time highs. But $3,800 stock. I got no interest. This one's a mess. All right, bottom right, that TRS alarm is pulling in. That was a nice one. Let's keep an eye on TRS. If someone wants to check Tesla for me, PHR, nothing. Ripple, nothing. Titan, it's an igniting. It's bullish. Daily, weekly, monthly, but I don't know where to get on board without a big stump. And Knox call spread, but $5 stock. I doubt there'll be anything. And that's a mess. All right, those are all the earnings. All right, TRS is not earnings, but yeah, let's see how it pans out. Urban, I said, was a big gap. But see now, that's not a gap I'd want to short unless I get a bearish pattern on the 15th, and then I'd consider a 1DTE. I'll just look to see how juicy they are. Anyway, check spreads. So maybe the 75s. Yeah, there's juice. 70 by 85. Wow, 70 by, all right, this is very juicy. Okay, very juicy. 85 by $1 now. So let's watch this for a reversal. And then 76 is the highest strike they have, 55 by 80. All right, nothing to do now, but it's because of the premiums, it's in my interest box. And this AMCI, I'm sorry, SMCI, I posted as a put spread over yesterday's high, which I don't think is going to get filled. Ideally, it keeps coming down, fills the gap, and turns to the 200. Our two shorts are doing great. Hewlett Packard, Sierra Golf. Doing great. Like, I mean, it's so pleasant when trades, they don't give you any stress. They're easy to manage. And those are two examples. All right, Zoom here, call spread if there's any cues. That was earnings. Let me check 85s for next week. Bali, do you know what Urban's last name is? Spider triggering. No juice at 85. All right, spiders triggering. I gave a call spread and a directional. Let me make sure it wasn't an early alarm. We're going to sell a call spread under 581.82. Yeah, we're going to buy 8 DTE debit spread, put debit spread, and let's see, 585.70. 580, 570. It's triggered, so that'd be like 280. Now, hi, Hewlett Packard low alarm. Nice. Watch. Yeah, yeah, you can short yesterday's low, sure. Serve. Yeah, it's one of those you're going to need the market owned, I think. Mara, I looked at all three of those, Thomas, pre-market, and they all got whacked back down yesterday. Riot, Cut, Wigme. Yeah, I looked at them all. The spider put spread, I'm sorry, call spread. Let's see where we are on the juice bar here. 596. 79. So yeah, 80. So yeah, that got filled. Get that posted. Hewlett Packard. Let's tighten the stop to 1052. Yeah, Alex, I saw that thing up and down pre-market. Trade review. We did nothing wrong. But, yeah, well, a great pattern, great entry. So let me look at it. Yeah, now well, I gotta reset my alarm. Yeah, it don't look good. That's a breakout failure now. That bar should not. I mean, it still could hold and just go into a rebuilding process, but that should not have happened. What do you want me to look at hood for? Bullish, but tell me what you want me to look at. Let's see, our golf looks fantastic. It's 1322. Greg, we're up 100% on our puts on Sierra Golf, but there's no reason to get out.
Do they expire tomorrow?
No, June. A month. But no, that I don't like that short because unless you find a 15-minute pattern, because this is power and not a good void. So I don't like the hood short. Uh, Texan is better. Texan is substantially better to me, Alex. You got 10 bars up there. You got a topping tail yesterday. You got a void. Substantially better to me. All right, Tesla bouncing here a little bit, so we might be able to short on a bounce. Strong. That's strong. You know, I mean, I like the fact that it's sideways following this initial breakout, as opposed to some of these we've been looking at. It's like the third go around of breakouts. You know what I'm saying? This one's rested more. Um, May $3. Oh, Urban Cowboy. That's a term. Yeah, that's a roller. That's strong though. I would never do it, but for the market rolling also, as this pattern has the po- potential, just one little down bar and then up she goes to 170. The spreads are 7 cents by 248. A frigging jerk. But yeah, your Texan. Is there any 10 o'clock news? I didn't look. Just wondering, do we need to wait till 10 o'clock or not? Oh, thanks. Urban Cowboy. 75s or 76s even. The spread's tightened up to a dime. 76s are 60 by 70 cents. Still not a great reversal on the 15 yet. I would do it if it were on Friday. The curve. There, curve, finally traded under prior pivot low. Let's see. Remember yesterday I was trying to sell the one. Ah, they did open a ton of more strikes, but there's not much juice. But at least, wow, they opened them up to 162 for tomorrow. Are you kidding me? Yeah, they're selling a ton of the 135s now. Um, right now they're 60. 1788 volume just today. There's even almost 1,000 at the 150s, which are just today. That is insane. Let me go out to next week too. The 162.50s are $1.20. It's $1 by $1.40. I'm gonna I'm gonna put it out here. Which for tomorrow or next week? Yeah, I'm just gonna watch this next tiny little bounce to see if I can, well, two things, squeeze out a little more profit. And then also just to make sure it doesn't bounce more than 50%. Our TRS bottom right. It's not a that's not a, well, maybe 5 minutes if I set it. No, see, that's not a clean buy setup, but it did come right to where I wanted. Gap fill, minor support. So not a bad entry to start nibbling. And the cues are holding here, making a higher pivot low on the 5 minute from yesterday's close. That Urban Cowboy made a new low for the day. So Sam, remember your Delta Tango? I still like it. Set an alarm at 53.90. Wow, Domo, remember? I said long watch. Look at that gap and go. Said I like the weekly, monthly, but I just, I know that's a gap and go. It's an igniting gap from a sideways trend. ENS got creamed. Oh, TD. These are just some of the earnings one I wrote down on my other computer. Look at that thing. They, man, they need their board needs a bonus because they are doing bang up chum. ADI, nothing. All right, so this curve, I'm watching the other computer, and now it's at 50% of that bar. So that's what I did not want to happen. But that, well, let me rephrase. I didn't want it to happen if I were to sell calls into a bounce. It just means I got to be more patient, waiting for my entry. That's all.
You want to sell naked calls on that?
Yeah, when I get a turn, we can do the 130s for tomorrow. Gold coming in. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it for next week, but we're talking about for tomorrow. Greg, this RB, man, it's getting extended. But so is Bitcoin. And I think we just got to trail under prior bars low now. Just cleaning out some of my other computer. Remember Qualcomm? I said I like the consolidation, but it didn't have a good void. That got smacked. Remember FFIV was another one. Consolidation, that got smacked. I'm just going to delete them. There must be some pending news on this curve because Greg, the 140s are 85 cents for tomorrow. That's insane. What do you think?
Always cheering you on, you know?
145s for 70 cents. But just do it objectively. Does it make technical sense?
I don't know. You always know after the fact. Some stock that's in focus for whatever reason, you know, they can go beyond what makes logical sense historically. What's that all saying?
I
You can't stay solvent to something around something related to the stock market.
I know, but look, so here's 80 and where it is now. So that's $27. Let's just call it.
I get it. So I mean, if you think that,
So to
and if
go,
the expiration is in a day, what are you waiting for?
oh shit, they just dropped my bid, the 145. Well, that because I'm wanting a second opinion.
Well, but nobody knows, Dan.
I know I'm asking you, does it make sense or is it using our objective criteria? Thank you.
Well, it doesn't Our criteria doesn't define something as to, does it make sense? Do I think that something can't go higher than what it is? There's nothing that we do can suggest something is impossible. If you want to say historically, is something probable? No, it's not probable that it's going to go there, but we see crazy shit happens. Now, if you decide that, in your opinion, that ain't going to happen based on what? You know, it's too far from the 20. Historically, that doesn't, most stocks cannot get that far, or it's so far from support, so on and so forth. And this premium is enough that it makes sense for me to do it in a short amount of time. Just do it and manage it. If it's zero DTE, it's probably a no-brainer. If you're going to hold it overnight,
Of course, it's for tomorrow.
well, you don't have to hold it overnight. I mean, if a thing collapsed, you take your money, but when you want to do options, you want to wait for a 15-minute reversal or take out a prior pivot. You know the story. There may be no premium there. So that exactness makes it much more difficult. Whereas if I was just going to short the underlying, it's like, okay, I see where that support is. If it breaks, I short it. I put my stop above there. I calculate my share sizing accordingly. But if you're going to sell options, or whether it's a spread or naked, and you want to match the technicals with your trade, well, it doesn't always work out that way, to where, with options, sometimes if there's crazy premium, but most times with options, some type of anticipation as to what is likely to happen, or a smaller time frame for some kind of confirmation.
All right, done. I'm just quickly scanning that, but my main question is, do you know of any pending news? I don't care about past news. No, I know. I'm just asking you if you know the answer, because that's what I'm concerned about. Well, Alex, these 145s are already cut in half just from our sitting here talking. They're now 35 cents, so it's about to pop them at 70.
There you go.
And the 140s were 90 and now they're 50. Once, so for 8 days, 162.50 is 135.
When you start talking, you want my opinion, when you start talking about going 8 days on a stock that is in focus and
Right.
longs are doing whatever.
No, I agree, unless I get
Second.
an exhaustion gap, and then I will 30-minute low on. I will. I promise you. So I was hoping. I said that yesterday. I was hoping that it gapped up $10 or more today. Gapped up $5, but I wanted more. If it has an exhaustion gap. Yeah, Thomas, it's on my watch list. I gave it as a put spread yesterday's high, but ideally it needs to come down deeper and then give us a reversal. So I am watching it. This Babay, just because it got smacked down yesterday. Did we kill it break even? What do y'all think? Had a nice gain yesterday, but gave it up. But we're break even right now. All right. Nobody has an opinion, I'll hold it. User moving. Yeah, looks like maybe the inside dig scenario now. I will be on the weakness. But it's down the most and fill the gap. That's not the 20, so that's not a good place to short either. In fact, the 15-minute looks maybe like a long. Yields gapped up, they're coming in to fill the gap. AD line still negative 950. We're watching this bull and that up and down alarms. It's gonna coma. I wonder why it's so underperforming. Coin. Coin looks higher. Oh yeah, I didn't get through my whole list, but yeah, I wrote those down. 10. Well, let's set alarms on these. It's actually a buy setup.